How would it change your life if you found out that you were wrong about this?
I don't think I would take it personally. I would learn from it. I'd be like, all right, if this is something that I thought was true without a shadow of a doubt, and that's not the case, then what are other things that I need to reevaluate? What are there other things in the literature that need to be dusted off and looked at again? All right.
So your name is Heck, H-E-C-K.
Yeah, as in, what the heck?
What the heck? Cool, my name's David.
David?
Good to meet you. And so, yeah, we're out here interviewing folks in this community about something that they think is true. If you can think of a statement that you're convinced is true, that you're okay with me asking questions about what supports it.
Okay, I have to think about something that I know is like dogmatic then.
Not
Like,
necessarily.
well,
Something that you're open to changing your mind about if it doesn't have to be dogmatic.
well, if it's something that I know is true, shouldn't it be something that I'm unconfident about?
You could phrase it that way. Yeah.
Like something I'm willing to put my name behind. Like, this is a certified fact.
Yeah, another way to think of it is like you would you would bet a big chunk of your life savings.
Okay. Let me think. Are there any sort of like limits to what the statement can be, or can it be come out of anywhere?
Something that's ideally meaningful to you, like if you were to find out it was not true tomorrow, you would change your behavior.
Ooh, okay.
And I have a can of words here if you're having trouble trying to think of something to talk about.
A can of words? Can I take a
Yeah.
look?
So, and there's some other little toys in here. Yeah, so if you want to,
Well,
here, I'll mix it up here.
by trade, I do science. So the thing that I was going to say was just be like something that I learned through work.
Okay.
Is that something within the realm? I'm not sure how much
Sure, yeah.
how much stuff like that is up for debate. You know what I mean? Like I could say I believe that I don't know. Certain mutations cause cancer.
Certain mutations cause cancer?
Yes, sure. I'll say that.
Certain mutations.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What do you mean by certain mutations?
Yeah. There are all sorts of genes that we encode, and some of them are called like oncogenes. And those are genes that typically, when they get mutated, may result or increase the likelihood of cancer developing in a lifetime.
Okay. All right. And what is the main reason that supports this conclusion for you?
It is supported by the literature. There's certain genes, like For example, there's a gene called BRCA1, BRCA1. Uh, Typically, when that gene gets mutated, folks that have that mutation develop breast cancer. So there's a lot of evidence for oncogenes existing.
Okay. So when you say literature, that's kind of what you're using to support your level of certainty in
Yes.
mutations causing cancer?
Yeah.
Okay. Is literature a strong enough reason to support conclusions like this?
I mean, like yes and no, right? Because the literature is peer reviewed.
Okay.
Um, Typically, the way that the peer review process goes, you get reviewed by three different experts in the field that look over your work. They ask for more data. They point out holes and alternative explanations for your findings, and you need to successfully prove to that panel of three people that your findings are sound. Um, there are holes in the peer review process because if you come into the field with, for example, a very stellar reputation, your peers, it's been shown that your peers are less harsh on you. If they think that
Less
you are
skeptical, maybe?
less skeptical, that you're under less of a
Because of your reputation?
yeah, because yeah, if you have a stellar reputation that precedes you, they're like, well, of course, this person is right about everything they do because they've been right about all these other things. So they probably did all of the things that they were supposed to do.
How reliable is that?
Well, it depends. Like sometimes there can be a lab that's very famous, and at first they had to go through a very rigorous peer review process, but after gaining fame and prestige, when they go through the peer review process, it's less rigorous. And it's so hard to control for something like that. It's
Okay.
so hard to control for something like that.
0 to 100, how confident are you that certain mutations cause cancer?
Oh, 100 for sure. There's a lot of evidence that comes from all sorts of labs, not just, highly prestigious labs, but also other labs that are still trying to make a name for themselves.
Okay.
And it's been found over and over and over again in research facilities around the world. So the fact that it's reproducible,
Okay.
I think also adds a lot of credence to it.
Okay. And is like the labs and the reproducibility, all of that encompassed in the literature?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is literature 100% reliable to support conclusions?
The literature on its own is not giving 100% reliability, but the fact that it includes other labs that aren't part of that sort of status quo that are also having the same findings, I think adds some credence to it.
That'd be more literature, though, right?
That's true. It would be more literature.
Okay.
hmm But they go through a harsher peer review process, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Enough to be 100% confident?
hmm
Okay. So when you say you're 100%, does that mean you cannot be wrong about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be willing to say that mutations in BRCA1 can cause breast cancer.
Can cause.
Yeah, it
Okay.
significantly increases the likelihood.
Okay. Are we talking about can cause or does cause?
I'd say can cause because cancer is such a you cannot definitively say that one mutation will cause cancer because there's a variety of factors that play into it.
Okay. I misunderstood you earlier. It sounded like you said certain mutations cause cancer. But you're saying can cause cancer.
Yes.
Okay. And you're 100% positive about that.
Yes.
Okay. And you cannot be wrong about it.
Yes.
Can you think of anything that could cause you to lower your confidence about that?
Mm, um, something that would lower my confidence about that. Um, I mean, there'd have to be like a very significant upheaval within the literature where groups uh, are able to reproduce that mutations in oncogenes actually don't increase cancer risk.
So, like,
And
is,
upheavals in the literature have happened. It happens a lot. I
that's what I
mean,
was going to ask. Like, is there any literature out there that demonstrate this to be false?
um, I'm not sure if there's anything that demonstrates it to be false because it's considered so true. You'd have to have very compelling evidence to the contrary for it to even be published. And uh, the lack of any publications that suggest that, to me, would suggest that no one has been able to come up with a compelling enough argument
Okay.
against it.
Are you open to there being evidence
Yeah,
for
I
that?
mean that's the point of science because it develops over time. What we believed in biology 100 years ago is not what we believe today, and 100 years from now, there's going to be a whole new paradigm, that a whole new layer of biology that I'll never be privy to because the technology isn't there yet.
Do you think those folks 100 years ago would have said that they're 100% and that they could not be wrong about it?
That's actually a really interesting question. So, in like 1902, the very first experiments were done that this scientist, I want to say in Sweden, Thomas Boveri, he was studying sea urchin embryos. And he was able to see their DNA because they have really big embryos that you can see the cells dividing with the naked eye. Um, and he,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, and he noticed that sometimes when the cells are dividing, because when your DNA replicates, you have a certain amount of DNA, but then it has to double so that your new cell can also have DNA in it. And so when
Uh-huh.
the DNA doubled, he noticed that sometimes when it was dividing, unequal amounts of DNA would go into both sides. And when there was an unequal amount of DNA that segregated, those sea urchins ended up developing cancer in that area.
That was like a mutation.
Yeah, yeah. And so he was the very first person to ever say that when there are mutations that happen during division and replication, that it can cause cancer. And so since 1902, people have had an inkling about this sort of relationship.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah.
Okay. Um,
Pre DNA, though, I'm not sure if people would have thought that.
okay. So, I guess my question would be, have there been biologists, do you think, that have said that they're 100% confident in something and it turned out to not be the case
Oh,
based on literature?
yes, that happens all the time.
Okay.
There are all sorts of stories like that. There's this one really interesting story. Um, so DNA is like carbon based. But this one chemical biologist believed that he found the first arsenic-based DNA system in bacteria. He believed that he isolated it from, I want to say, a hot spring, and he purified what he believed was the DNA. He did all sorts of chemical analyses on it, and the chemical analyses looked solid. They looked legitimate. And he was able to show that inside of the DNA, instead of carbons, it was arsenic. It later turned out there was a massive sort of contamination at the beginning of the pipeline of his work that contaminated his samples with arsenic, and he did all of his analysis with the arsenic-based samples and did really solid analysis, but just didn't control at the very beginning for a contamination like that, and misled himself into believing and misled the reviewers into believing the same thing. And it wasn't until like a follow-up paper, and this is why I have faith in the literature, because there was a follow-up paper by a different group that read that paper and was just like, oh no, this is clearly a mistake, and we're going to prove that it's a mistake. And they did the exact same thing that he did, but controlled for the contamination and showed that it was a kind of like a flub.
Okay.
But the literature allows for conversations to take place like that, and they value any compelling arguments, but it has to be a compelling one.
Yeah. Okay. So this will probably be one of my last questions. If it happens all the time that biologists, based on literature, are 100% confident in conclusions and feel like they cannot be wrong about it, and they are, how do you know this isn't happening this time?
Yeah, I mean, based on the way you're putting it, of course, there is room for there is room for change in the field. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about science, is that we can think of something, we can see data that convinces us about something, but if we see data that kind of disabuses us from a previous concept, a previous notion, we adopt the new notion that the data supports.
Well, how do you do that if you're 100% confident and you say that you can't be wrong about it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm 100% confident because that's what the data is saying, but I'm open to compelling arguments if there's a compelling argument that comes up.
Okay. So are you saying now that you can be wrong about it?
Yeah, I can be wrong about it, but this is something that's just been shown time and time and time and time again. I'd be very shocked if I was wrong. But again, if there's a landmark discussion that's happening, I want to see it. I want to take part in it, and I want to look at what's being discussed. And I'm not going to shut myself out of a discussion that could be very fruitful.
How would it change your life if you found out that you were wrong about this?
I don't think I would take it personally. I would learn from it. I'd be like, all right, if this is something that I thought was true without a shadow of a doubt, and that's not the case, then what are other things that I need to reevaluate? What are there other things in the literature that need to be dusted off and looked at again?
Okay. And you feel like 100 is the best place for you to be with that, having that mindset?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think 100 means that I'm like stubborn to any sort of shakeup. It just means that based off of everything that's been shown so far,
you're comfortable there? Okay. Cool. Well, that was fun.
All right, thank you.
Any feedback on the conversation?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Thanks for stopping.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Heck.
Yes, what the heck?
What the heck? Cool.
All right.
Thanks again.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks for stopping.